Hello, welcome to the second installment, or episode 2 of Project Chariot. So for those who don't know, if you haven't seen the first video, you can go ahead and check it out. Project Chariot, we are designing synthetic cyborgs. So biological components that can't survive without technology, and technology that can't function without biological components. That's a synthborg, synthetic cyborg. We are, in Project Chariot, working on wheeled synthborgs. So again, what makes up a chariot? Meat and wheels. So here you can see in our model, our most basic unit of the drivetrain is a box with some muscles inside. The muscles attached to a piston. Then there's a piston rod that attaches to a crankshaft, and the crankshaft spins the wheel. So kind of going back off of what we established last time, you're going to have two of these piston boxes directly next to each other, and then they're both going to attach to the same crankshaft. The crankshaft will have two attachment points, and they will be, one of them is rotated 180 degrees from the other, just to provide more constant power. That way there's not going to be asymmetries in the movement of the wheel. It's not going to cause any sort of weird torsion or unwanted forces that could potentially warp the metal frame. If two of these piston boxes form our basic unit, then this would be analogous to, and in fact derived from, the front left leg of an animal. So we need the rest of the legs, right? We need front right, back left, back right. That'll give us our four wheels. Four legs turned to four wheels, we're still maintaining the same amount of bones. So the left to right symmetry to help us maintain a robust hull is going to be directly reflected across the line that runs from the anterior, the front, to the posterior, the rear end of the synthborg. This reflection is directly symmetrical so that we don't have any sort of skewed movement. We're going to have the ones that point forward on the outermost parts of the crankshaft, and then the ones that point more towards the rear, then those are going to be on the innermost part. And that way it just helps keep things moving smoothly. It's not going to be weird, asymmetrical. It will also reduce any sort of potentially hazardous movement patterns that could affect once the vehicle starts moving. The front four piston boxes are going to be very similar to the back four. However, the ones in the rear are going to be rotated about 180 degrees in their normal position. So what I mean by this is, as the crankshaft rotates, it will be constantly completing rotations, constantly completing full rotations, I should say. But these are going to be facing the opposite directions to hopefully cancel out some of that force. Now, similar to what we had addressed in our last video, we don't want the crankshaft attached directly to the wheel, because how are you supposed to stop? If you try to stop, then you're going to still be moving the muscles, or even if you just try to coast along the road without providing direct power, or just kind of ride down a hill, then the muscles would still undergo movement, even though they're not the ones providing it. They'd still be pushed and pulled by the movement of the crankshaft, by its rotation. So we can turn to our solution. We can derive it from baseline vehicular engineering, which will provide us with our answer. This answer is the transmission. Normal cars have one transmission, and essentially what it does is the engine, which provides the rotational movement, spins a gear. This gear can be attached to another gear to spin that, which will in turn spin the wheels. Or you can actually keep the engine gear spinning, but move it slightly upward from that other sprocket that's going to be to the wheel. So the engine is still providing power. It's still undergoing firings, but the wheel itself isn't actually moving. So this is where you kind of get a car that's sitting idle. This will give us really quite a complex array of different combinations we can use for locomotion. We can do front wheel drive only, back wheel drive only. We can do all wheel or four wheel drive. And of course, this will all be modulated, the muscle movements. It'll be directly controlled by the neural components, which we will cover in a future video. This is also going to be different from normal cars because you don't need to have the engine constantly running. Like with a normal car, if you say you want the front wheels to spin, and the back wheels not to spin, then you need to provide power to all of it, but the transmission will change gears, and then that's how you provide power to only some of the wheels. Using our design, in front wheel drive, you don't need to waste energy by keeping the muscles in the back pumping to keep the crankshaft spinning. Just have the muscles in the back be completely at rest, not spinning, not even moving. They don't even provide power. Those wheels are freely spinning, and the only muscles providing the power would be the ones at the front of the car. That way, when you're driving down the road, whenever some of the muscles get tired, you can switch from having the front wheels provide power to having the back wheels provide power, back to the front, back to the back. You get it back and forth, giving each muscle array actual time to rest and recuperate, because you don't want to be using them constantly, or else they'll just become exhausted. Now, another problem that we can face is that whenever driving, especially whenever you're turning, the wheels in the back will need to spin at different rates, or else you'll start warping the axle and the torque exerted on it will actually kind of twist it and maybe even twist it apart. So the back wheels are going to need to spin at different speeds, different angular velocities relative to each other. In normal cars, this is accounted for by a part known as the rear differential. Now, I'm going to link a video that explains how it works in like the basic concept of what a rear differential is, but we can just take this idea and implement it directly into our design. There isn't even any new engineering required. What you do is you just have the differential right here, and then it will allow one side to spin faster than the other. We can still provide power by using the crankshaft, so we'll just have the crankshaft, then the differential, and then the actual axle. Lastly, we're going to want to add some shields to protect the crankshaft's protrusions. So there's those knobs that the piston rod's attached to. Well, if those are going to be moving about just along the interior of the vehicle, we're definitely not going to want those to hit into other things. So we'll add these shields. This can just be metal plating, or really most any material, just to prevent debris from getting stuck in there, prevent any problems from happening. You might have also noticed that there are holes in the faces that are oriented towards the center of the vehicle for each piston box. These are going to be for the lungs, which we will cover in our next video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later in our next episode of Project Chariot.